$7. A police officer in South Carolina has been charged with murder after officials viewed a video that appears to show the white officer shooting a black driver in the back several times. All rise. Judge Andrew Napolitano is here. Judge, I mean, very graphic stuff. South Carolina didn't waste a lot of time charging the police officer with murder, but before then, it was one of these cases where no one really knew. Apparently the story was that the driver used a taser and the police officer was defending his life.
The police officer apparently tried to create a scene that gave that impression, which may add to his woes if he moved the taser after he shot the victim and killed him in an effort to make it look like the victim had taken the taser and was using it on him. Now, I haven't seen a clearer version of this than
I don't know if there is a clearer version.
But one of the versions allegedly shows the taser needles in the body of the victim, which would mean that the policeman had it. No one is suggesting he shot himself with it. But look, to shoot a person and use deadly force when you are in law enforcement requires that you have the reasonable belief that that person is in imminent danger of posing a deadly threat to somebody else, a third person, you, even himself. And it doesn't seem that that is the case here. That's problem number one. Problem number two is shooting somebody in the back when they're running away from you rarely results in an acquittal. Three, he wasn't charged with criminally negligent homicide, which is what usually police officers are charged with when in the discharge of their gun they kill somebody. He was charged with murder, which requires some sort of intent. The intent would be pulling the trigger eight times and hitting him 5 times in the back. 4, he was denied bail. I have never heard of a police officer being denied bail. So I'm suggesting, but with my list of issues here, there's even more that's going to come out about this case that hasn't come out yet.
With these phones now, everyone's a potential news person.
Yes.
We've seen Periscope and these things. You can film it. You can put it online immediately. How's this going to change law enforcement and interpretation of these sort of crimes? Because, we always hear the he say, she said, and people might look at this and have different interpretations of what happened.
The camera can sometimes produce a distorted view, as we know from the Rodney King case, because it's selective. We don't know what preceded this.
Sure.
But for the most part, cameras show a serious version, a truthful version of what happened. Do you remember not too long ago when cops were arresting people for filming them in public?
Right.
You don't see that anymore.
Right.
Because judges have said, guess what? You have a First Amendment right to take a picture of anybody in public, especially if that person works for the government and is performing some government function.
And of course, now a lot of cops are wearing cameras themselves, which I think is going to be good for the police officers
good for both.
and the public.
It's good for both sides because, again, unless it's selectively edited or selectively chosen, it doesn't lie.
Another real quick story, because this is right up your alley. There's a new report out that reveals that the government was actually keeping secret records on our international phone calls in 116 foreign countries for over a decade, before 9/11, before the emergency need for this sort of government power. They already had the power.
It's a very, very serious issue that was revealed. It was revealed this morning that every post-Ronald Reagan president, from George H.W. Bush to Barack Obama, authorized the following: the Defense Department to install and operate Defense Department computers in a Justice Department office. Now, that creates a lot of problems. It's spying, it's violating the Fourth Amendment, it's hiding expenditures of money from the Congress, it's the president saying, I'm above the law and I can authorize you to be above the law, it's using evidence in criminal prosecutions that was unlawfully obtained. This is a real can of worms that was revealed this morning. It resulted in my view, a generation of cops coming of age believing that they can cut constitutional corners because the feds can. And it may take a long time to get them out of that attitude and into an attitude that they have the obligation to defend the Constitution as well as to defend our bodies and our real estate.
We talk about slippery slopes all the time. We've gone down that slope, it looks like, as a country. At least our government has.
We have. And it's hard to believe that litany of presidents who did it, but they did. Who stopped it? Eric Holder was afraid this would be exposed on his watch, and it was. I mean, it's almost not his watch if they take a vote on Loretta Lynch. But for all of those of us who've criticized him, and there's a lot about him to criticize, he's the one that stopped it.
All right. Judge, great stuff.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.